Welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. This platform is for common sense people looking for up-to-date, accurate, and truthful information without the hot garbage corporate media bias. The power of one can lead to the power of many. You never know what small act that you may say or do that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. And don't you ever think that you can't make a difference, because you can. Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. Welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. I am, of course, your host, Garrett Soldano, and my goodness gracious, do I have some great footage for all of you here today. That is for gosh darn sure. And so before I even get going on the hot garbage that's going on today and everything, my goodness, I say this time and time again, I can't keep up with it. It is nonstop with everything that's going on. It just amazes me that we are at this point in our society that we really, truly have to talk about and stand up against biological men competing in women's sports, biological boys using women's restrooms and locker rooms and everything else that's going on. And it's interesting to watch the Democrats. They stay very quiet on this issue. I'm talking about the Governor Whitmers of the world, Kamala Harris, Elisa Slotkin, these people that are running for office. And it's interesting to me that their own people, their own Democrat people, don't hold them accountable, because for some reason, the Democrats feel that they all have to fall in line and they don't hold their candidates accountable. And if you're a father who has a daughter, a husband who has a wife, a grandfather who has a granddaughter or great-granddaughter, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, you have to stand up for what's right. And it's your job to go and hold your candidates accountable and say, hey, you know what? I'm a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, but what in the hell are you doing all these shenanigans with men and women's sports, boys using women's locker rooms and restrooms? I don't agree with that, and you shouldn't, because you can't make policy for a very small percentage of the population so they can feel good about themselves. That's going to have a negative impact on the group as a whole. It's just not right. And you guys know me by now. I'm going to stand up for what I believe it's right. I'm going to stand up for common sense and logic. I'm going to stand up, especially for the ones who can't stand up for themselves. And if any candidate out there that supports this garbage, don't elect them, especially if they're running for school board, because these same people are going to put their heels in the stand when folks come to the school board and say, hey, look, I don't want boys in girls' locker rooms and restrooms. I don't want men competing in women's sports. And they're like, well, no, this is what we stand for. If you don't want that garbage, don't put these people in. It's as easy as that. And if you're a woman, if you're a girl, refuse to compete against men, because it's not right. They have already gotten hurt. There's already footage and stories of women and girls getting hurt competing against biological men. And I love how the Democrats run with this Olympic boxer. And another thing about this Olympic boxer who was born a man, look, XY chromosome equals man. I don't care how you feel. Biologically, you are superior physically. It's just the truth. Just the truth, than a female who is an XX chromosome. So even if you feel like you're a woman and you're a girl, I don't care. If you're an XY chromosome, you should not be competing in women's sports. I don't care how you sugarcoat it. Because look, this is what life's about. Life's not fair. And that's what the Democrats push out, that everybody should be included for this very person who was born with an XY chromosome. Well, he feels like he's a girl and he's identified as a girl his whole life, even though he resembles a man physically, genetically. They want to be this love kind of push of saying everybody should love and include this person. We should feel sorry for this person and help them. Look, life's not fair. God has dealt you some cards. You got to play those cards effectively. It doesn't mean that the majority of society should just bend the knee and be okay with you dominating women's sports when you have a genetic advantage. It's not right. I don't care how you try to sugarcoat it. It's not right. And TikTok will not allow me to post this video, which I'm going to try to post here today, if you guys haven't seen it already, of this man beating a woman from Italy. In 46 seconds, she quits because she said she never got hit hard in her life, right? And she was afraid she was going to get injured. I'm going to try to post it here today if you haven't seen it already, but it's on the internet. You can find it. But TikTok continues to take it down because they said I'm spreading hate. Interesting concept. Who cares about the poor woman getting punched in the face? That's not hate. That's not violence, right? But when I say men shouldn't be competing in women's sports, that's hate and hate attributes, and they take me down. And I don't care what Democrat tries to say that I'm a homophobe, a transphobe, and everything else. I'm not. I care less who you're with. But I don't agree with force feeding your cultural ideology down my throat and in kids' throats because it's wrong. Which leads me, to the point that I'm going to make today about Rochester Community School Board. Now, I've been highlighting Rochester Community School Board for over a year now, and the shenanigans that they've been pulling, and they have some very far left folks on the school board, which is fine. I don't care. But if you're in Rochester Community Schools, and you're appointing these people, or not appointing, electing these people, then you have to look at yourself in the mirror and understand what's coming down the pipeline. They are going to continue to push boys and girls locker rooms in boys and girls restrooms, and they're going to push boys competing against girls, and people are going to get hurt, but it's okay because that daughter, your granddaughter, your kid just has to take it. Because we're not going to include her feelings. We don't care about her feelings. We only care about the one or two people that we're trying to prop up and say, everything's fine. It's not right. Okay? Which leads me to the Rochester School Board. And they campaigned at a pride event. Several of them who are running for school board in Rochester Community Schools. Which, if you have a decision to make on who you want to represent the community as a whole, I just don't think, and this is your decision in that community, that you want to represent or elect somebody who's going to represent a very small portion of your society and not represent the community as a whole. Because they have every right to go campaign there. They do. It's not illegal. They can go set up their little table and all 4 or 5 of them can sit out there and say, hey, this is what we're representing, which is fine. And if you want that stuff in your community and you want that kind of representation on your school board, that's up to you. So you have to go out, and if I were you in that situation, then I would be supporting the candidates who's going to represent all students and bring some common sense to the situation and stand up against the state, because you can, because it's happening in California right now, stand up against the state when they're trying to force feed this stuff down at the local level, because the local level has the power. Yeah, there's going to be lawsuits and you're going to have to go into court, but you have to stand up for these kids. Okay. So here is appointee Blake. I'm not going to call him a trustee because this is how he was put into office. See, the Democrat-controlled school board, they appointed this when one of their school board members stepped down. They didn't have an election. He's not an elected official. He's trying to be an elected official now. He's campaigning to be elected official, but he is an appointee. And Trustee Weaver has been pointing this out, and he's been getting attacked, but it's true. The school board, the Democrat-controlled school board, appointed him, and they said, well, we were elected officials, so it's okay to appoint someone that we want on the school board so we can hold the majority to continue to do our clown show, right? So I'm going to call this out. So here he is. This video was shared to me this morning on his defense on why him and his other fellow candidates were at a pride event, which if you want to campaign there, fine. But he tries to say that it was a family-friendly event and everything that was going on there was all family-friendly. And whoever put this video together was pointing out that it wasn't. Elections have consequences, folks. And if you're a person, don't care what party you're affiliated with, because I feel that most Democrats out there, at least the old school ones, are like, this is not right. Put the right representation in there and don't elect these folks if you want change in your community. Because here he is trying to defend why him and his colleagues were at this event. So listen in.
To address Rochester Pride this year, because there have been a lot of misinformation, outlandish stories, exaggerations, outright lies that I've heard about this. And I thought this would die down, but it apparently hasn't, so I'm going to address it. Myself and 4 of my colleagues attended Rochester Pride in the Park on June 22nd. We didn't put the event on. We were there as guests. We attended and we had a table along with lots of other vendors, politicians, 3 or 4 churches were there. And we did this because we wanted to show support to the LGBT students, staff, family members of our district. The last hour of the event, the stage had performers. And among those performers, there were a couple of drag queens. Now, these drag queens knew that they were performing at an all-age event, and as performers, they know the type of performance to do when they're in that situation, and they did so. Their performances had no sexual content. They were not lewd. They did not use vulgarity. They stayed fully dressed at all times. And nobody who was there will tell you otherwise. And I've not heard anybody. But people who were not there are spreading rumors that are different than what happened. There is one picture that I've seen floating around of one of the performers wearing a red dress. Her dress flopped up. It was an action shot, and her dress came up when they took the shot. Even then, all you could see in that picture was her tights. She was wearing thick tights underneath the dress. There were no private parts exposed. And drag queens don't show their private parts. That's kind of the point. They go to great lengths not to show their private parts. And not to get too far in the weeds on this, but they do something called tucking. If you're that interested, you can go Google it. I'm not going to get into it any further. But I have never seen a drag queen in any venue showing their private parts, and they didn't do it that day. And nobody that was there saw anything inappropriate.
Look, I like his comment, but they remain fully dressed at all times. And thank you for the education on tucking. Again, is it wrong that they went to a pride event and campaign? No, they can do whatever they want. It's not against the law. But if you're running for a position that is going to represent the group as a whole, then if I was running, I probably wouldn't have went to that event. I wouldn't have, because I would know in the back of my mind, like, hey, yeah, I support this community, but there's a lot of people right now that are very upset, and I'm not just going to throw gasoline on the fire because I got to represent all students. I not only have to represent the folks that I believe in, but I also have to represent everyone else that may have a problem with it, whether it's good or bad according to their own belief system. You just have to make those decisions if you're elected officials. However, our politics have become so polarizing that people are literally digging their heels in the sand and people are choosing sides, which is unfortunate because we should have common sense and compromise with these things. It truly is. It's gotten way out of control. It's gotten way out of hand. And, you know, for the kids, and this is what the Dems will say, like they'll attack, Garrett's a homophobe and a transphobe and he hates that community. Absolutely not. And I pointed out this organization that the Dems will not talk about is Gays Against Groomers, a huge organization that continues to grow, that's standing up and saying, hey, look, we should not be pushing this stuff on kids. And I agree with that. We should not be pushing this cultural ideology. Do I think that we need to help the kids who need help? Yeah, absolutely. Get kids who need mental help, regardless of what they're struggling with. But you can't make, and this is what's wrong with our society right now, they're making policy decisions and laws now that is making a very small segment of our population so they can feel good and feel included, but it's having a damaging effect on the group as a whole. And people are like, well, no, you're just hurting people's feelings. No, and this is leading down a slippery slope of men competing in women's sports. And you're going to injure people, and that's not right. It's so frustrating. And they can continue to try to prop it up and come up with every excuse in the book. It's not right. I don't care. I'll die on this hill just like they're dying on the hill of standing up for it. So if you're in Rochester Community Schools and that's the type of representation that you want, then by all means, vote appointee Blake in and his colleagues. But if you want other representation, because I know there's other members that are running, or not members, but other people in that community that are running that are going to bring common sense. And that's what we need. And not only that school board, but others. Okay. So that's what I wanted to point out here today about appointee Blake trying to make sense on why they went to that event, which, okay, Great, good for you. But if I were those folks in that community, I would be rallying behind the people who's going to represent all students, not just the small segment of the population. Okay. So it brings me to my next point, the lies, right? How many people out there are sick and tired of the Democrats lying? That's what they do. They lie right to our face. And then the corporate media, who the Democrat control, runs with the lies. So I want to give you a couple situations that happened this week that we just sit back, and the people who are now awakened that understand and know this is the game that they're playing, they are brilliant. Let me say this again. I hate to say this, but it's true. The Democrats are brilliant with messaging and how they control the messaging, because they control mainstream media. They control most of social media. Thank God Elon Musk bought Twitter, or we wouldn't have a chance right now. Let me point that out. But they control that narrative. We went through it all throughout the pandemic. If you tell a lie long enough, people start to believe that it's true. And anyone that stands up against truth, I went through this personally. For those of you who've been with me for over the past 4 years, you will get deplatformed, you will get censored, and everything else when you stand up for what's right. They do it time and time again. So I want to share with you all the interaction with Trump had with the black journalist, I think in Chicago, this organization. He went into the lion's den, and he's willing to go out there and put himself out there and answer the tough questions. This would be like Kamala Harris going to an NRA event. She won't do that. She can barely put together a sentence and sound coherent when there's not a teleprompter on. All she does is spew out word salad, So this is President Trump, and I want to show you what the corporate media immediately put out. And I'm going to show some footage of Kamala Harris calling herself an Indian, and then they evolved it, the Democrats did, when the narrative fit what they were trying to push. Now she's black, okay? So let's watch this clip.
Supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
Give me a
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear,
and I think the party knows that, and knows that this is part of our collective community, and there needs to be outreach and inclusion.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Knock wood.
It is my true, distinct pleasure to introduce the first senator, and I'm not going to say this, the first senator of Indian American heritage in the history of U.S. Senate.
So it's been a really long week. And I'm really glad to be here. But I want to thank you, and my Chitti is here, my mother's youngest sister, Chinni Mahalakshmi Subhash is here, and I want to thank her. She flew in from Toronto to be with us this evening. Please, Chitti, will you wave?
Okay, so what we're gonna cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about, to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food.
Vivek, I want to give you a chance to react to that. No doubt it's going to get attention. It already is.
Yeah, so look, on a very personal level, my parents were immigrants to this country, legal immigrants from southern India. Very same part of India that her mother also immigrated from. I think it's a hard fact, Martha, it's just a fact, whether you like it or not, that many Indian Americans in the United States are indeed somewhat offended by the way Kamala has suddenly cast aside the Indian American side of her identity. She leaned into it when she ran for office in California. Big Asian American and Indian American population. So she wore that when it was convenient. She's wearing a different identity now when it's politically convenient on a national stage. Personally, I don't think we should be relying on these ethnic identities at all. We're actually American. And the problem is when you're Kamala Harris and you actually do lean into your identity politics, then you open the door to that type of criticism. But if you ask me, that shouldn't be how this election is decided one way or another. It should be decided on our own identity as Americans and what our vision is for the future of the country. And the number one thing missing in Kamala Harris's candidacy is that she lacks that vision for the country.
Vivek, I love when he speaks. I mean, a lot of common sense that comes out of his mouth. I am definitely a fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. And he's right. It doesn't matter where she's from. We don't care. But don't say one thing when it fits what you're trying to do and then totally switch and say another. That's what you're getting called out for. That's exactly why when you stand up against this, the Democrats just freak out, right? No, we're calling out your lies and what you do in the media. And me and others will continue to call out what you do because we're holding people accountable. And if a Republican and stuff did that, I would be calling them out too. Like that's what we have to start doing as a society is when we have these clowns running on both sides of the aisle and they say things, they should be called out. And I will continue to call out. The main reason that I call out most of the Democrats because they continue to do it and they throw it right in their face and they're not accountable with it. That's why I still want to find out what Kamala Harris, Governor Whitmer, Elisha Slotkin, Dana Nessel, well, we all probably know what Dana Nessel views are, Jocelyn Benson, Secretary of State here in the state of Michigan. What are your views on men competing in women's sports? Are you for it? Are you okay with boys using girls' restrooms and locker rooms? I mean, they stay really silent on those issues. They just focus on abortion, right? Which is pulling low on the kitchen tables issues right now. There's 16 to 25% that really think that President Trump's going to take away their abortion rights, even though that's already been debunked, that he said it's up to the states. So if you want it, vote for it like they did in the state of Michigan. That's it. But here's what the corporate media did immediately when President Trump said that about Kamala. So Kamala wondering if she was black or white. Here's what they immediately put out. I mean, this is the stuff that we're just infuriated about. All right.
Dono and Garrett, I hope, and I know you're going to bring a little energy to this. So, all right, thanks, brother. There you go.
All right, good evening, my fellow Michiganders. Good evening, my fellow Americans. Thank you so much, Bill. Holy cow, are we excited to be here today to motivate and inspire Michigan and America's greatest asset. And who is that? We the people. Let me see it. We the people. Louder, please. We the people. That's right, because it's going to take energy from all of you boots on the ground. And I know a lot of you have been in here, and a lot of you have been fighting alongside us for many, many years now. A lot of you are tired. It's exhausting to be in this race, isn't it? But you're almost there. The finish line is right around the corner. So you have to continue to hammer down. You have to continue to be motivated, continue to be inspired. But most importantly, you have to continue to stay activated. This is the fourth quarter, ladies and gentlemen. It truly is. And who is sick and tired of the Democrats and their lies? Say aye. Aye. Who is sick and tired of the corporate media running with the lies? Say aye. Aye. And who is sick and tired of the social media censoring Republicans, hammering down on us? Say aye. Aye. That is why we're so grateful that Elon Musk bought X. Yeah. Correct? So grateful. Yeah. Because if it wasn't for him, we would be censored right now. Yeah. Here we go. Got music going. No. We would be censored right now, and they would be able to push out this narrative because it's right in our face right now. All of us in this room, we're awakened. We've been awakened ever since COVID. The majority of us have been in this room. We've known it. But there's a lot of people in the middle that still kind of fall in line with what they see on CNN and what they see on corporate media. It's classical conditioning. It's brainwashing at its finest. The very party that says that they stand for democracy had an old coup and replaced their candidate, didn't they? Bypassed the millions of voters who voted for the Weekend at Bernie's candidate, right? And they put Kamala in. A person who was polling to be the most least favorable vice president in the history of our country. She is not at the helm of the ship. And we see it on corporate media, how they try to put her up the top, don't they? And they say, no, she was never the border czar. Don't call her the border czar. And they run with that narrative. Now it just Bill was talking about being weird, right? Now we're all weird. Right? We're weird because we don't want boys in the girls' locker rooms. We're weird because we don't want boys in the restrooms. We're weird because we don't want pornographic material in our public school systems. Right? We're weird because we want a wall at the southern border, not open borders. If you want to come in here legally, we'll have entrances along the way and you can enter. Right? Oh, I'm just getting started. It's nonstop. It's nonstop. Everything that they're doing right now, they're pushing it right into our face. And it's weird to have a family. It's weird to have kids. It's weird to be a Christian. And they smear that right into our face in the Olympics. And they say, oh, we didn't mean it that way. Garbage. Hot garbage. It truly is. And that's why it's so important for you all to be here today. Now, I congratulate every single one of you in this room because you took some type of action and made a decision to get involved. All right? But it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not each one teach one, it's each one teach many. You have to go out into your local communities. You have to have conversations. And folks, it's not hard. Our whole country is a dumpster fire right now. And they try to push out that abortion, how President Trump is going to ban abortion. We all know that's hot garbage. He already made it known. He's left it up to the states. Correct. But they want to put it up there because it worked so well with them in the last election cycle. But I tell you what, the majority of Americans, they cared maybe the last election cycle, but they care more about putting food on the table. Yeah. About the rising grocery prices, putting a roof over their head. Right? Our whole country, taking away our parental rights. All that is happening throughout our country. People say, well, that just only happened to California. No, I expose school boards all the time, Rochester community schools, Lowell community schools. I expose them all the time of what they're doing, taking away parental rights. And it's wrong. Our kids do not belong to the government. I'm saying all this right now so the corporate media can't edit me. They're going to have to say something, right? But folks, you have to stay involved and activated over the next couple months. We're right there. We really are. We're so close. So when you have those conversations, stick to those talking points about parental rights, about the economy, about the illegal immigration, the crime that's out of control, right? That's all you have to do, is you have to ask those questions. They either say, well, I'm voting Kamala. Say, why? What policies do you agree with?
What policies?
They won't have any.
No.
And say, well, do you agree with open borders? Well, we got to help everyone. Yeah, we want people to come in here legally. But do you agree just letting these crimes happen and then put them right back on the street? Normal Americans, the independents, the people in the middle is what's going to determine this election.
Yes.
Right? And Bill's right. Support your candidate. Follow your conscience, follow your heart, vote for who you want to have represent you, but whoever wins the primary, you got to fall in line and vote red up and down the ticket. Yeah. We have a history to pick our ball up and just go home because our candidate didn't win. No. You have to vote up and down the ticket at all levels, federally, state, local, your local school boards. We can take back our local communities. Yeah. Your constitutional sheriffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Very important what we learned during the pandemic, right? Yeah. That's what's at stake. We are one election cycle from losing this little idea called America. That's it. And when President Trump wins and we win up and down the ticket, it's not time to quit then. We have a decade of work. So put that in your mind and understand and know that God has put you all in this moment for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a reason. And embrace that opportunity. And understand and know that the power of one can lead to the power of many. Don't you ever think that you can't make a difference. Because you never know what small act, one conversation, one door knock that you have that may literally change the lives of millions tomorrow. You all taught me this. That's how powerful you are. So God bless you, God bless the state of Michigan, and God bless these United States. So if you are going to be in the area, make sure that you're attending this Lincoln Day in Newaygo County. This is where you can get the information to get your ticket. I am going to be bringing this energy nonstop. I want to move to right now to what Governor Gretchen Whitmer said on CNN the other day. So here we go.
The number one thing that you would do differently?
Well, think about what we were confronted, right? The knowledge of the last pandemic was from the 1918 flu that disproportionately hurt little kids, killed little kids, took lives of some of the youngest Americans. And I think one of our collective worries was that in our schools, if our kids were going and they were getting sick, that they would start dying. We did not know it was respiratory in nature. We didn't know that it would be people on the other end of the age spectrum who would be most vulnerable. And so I think that the education stuff, we would have been able to do a lot more to help our kids.
All of us want to evolve this conversation away from lockdowns and mandates, and all of us are sick and tired of talking about that. And that's what they want. They want us to get numb to it, and they want us to quit talking about it. So we'll just blindly follow with whatever the government wants us to do. And I'm just not that guy. This is a different election cycle now. You're not going to just go up there and talk about policy. We need somebody that's going to hold her accountable for everything that she's done.
Michiganders. I will not stop fighting for more tests, more vaccines, more ways to keep you safe. So I'm calling on Michiganders to continue their personal efforts to slow the spread by masking up, social distancing, and washing your hands. And of course, get vaccinated.
We have the freedom to choose.
This is our state.
You do not need to be a career politician to run for any level of office. You just need to love this country, love this flag, always follow through, be transparent, tell the truth. That's all we want from here on out. We are going to get it done, because when you got skin in the game, that means it means something to you. And if you believe in this country and you believe in this flag and you believe in the future generations of this country, you can be a part of this movement. And you can help us take our state back and get rid of this insanity that's going on right now and stand up. So again, if you are in the area, please come out. This is the energy. I mean, all of us get exhausted on this, on this journey of being involved in politics. But if you need your cup of freedom refilled, this is my role as of right now, is to go around the state of Michigan, and inspire Michigan and America's greatest asset. And that is all of you to get involved, stay engaged. And that's why I want to bring you all to this website today. I want to see if we can get this up and rolling. Here it is. Good. That right there. You guys can get activated and come and join the Trump Force 47. I put the link in the description. It's TrumpForce47.com. You can volunteer and make a huge impact with just a small commitment in your local communities. Okay. And this is how we win. We're up against a pretty big beast. We truly are. And we have to activate all of you in your local areas, no matter how small or how big your county is, because I firmly believe that, I don't care what small act that you may do. You may door knock, have a conversation, a phone call, somebody that you may meet out in public and have that conversation that may literally change their vote. And if each one of us does that and have these conversations, that's how we win. That's how we battle against this narrative. That's how we battle against the corporate media and the lies that they're constantly pushing. Okay. So join this. If you have that feeling of serving, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run for office or run for school board or run for any level of government. You can be a volunteer and join this grassroots army of folks all across the country. So go to this website, TrumpForce47.com. You can go there and then they will activate you and you can, give as much time as you want, an hour a week, 2 hours a week, whatever you want. But a little does a lot. It truly does. And don't think like, I just don't have time. If you can just do an hour a week, that can make a difference. And that can, make sure that this little idea of America continues to go forward. And so please join and be a part of this movement of folks throughout the country. And everything that you can do to be a part of something is you can go and buy some merch to support the Grassroots Army. We're nonstop over here. So you can go to thegrassrootsarmy.com and we designed this merch for you to be proud of being a part of this movement, to go around and take a stand for what you believe in. And there's a lot of shirts for you to choose from, but go there, buy a shirt, buy someone a shirt, wear it around, when you go to these school boards, wear it. We're building something. We're building an organization of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We truly are. So that's all I have for you all today. Sorry, my camera quit working. It tends to do that time and time again when I'm pushing some very important issues. But hey, that's just what it is. You know me, I will not give up. I will fight, fight, fight. So God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless the United States. Talk to you soon.